Take it away. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure to hear about all the work that's been going on. Really great hearing a lot about Bristlemouth. Um, Apologize for a couple of things first. If I'm not super enthusiastic, I feel like I'm staring at two straws with a crippling migraine. Um, but there's a lot of fluff in here. We had to send this through our PAO. I'll be quick and cut some of the fluff out. Um, so first of all, I'm from Niwak Atlantic. If you don't know, Niwak Atlantic is Naval Information Warfare Center Atlantic. So we're under the Department of Navy as a warfare center, similar functionality to MITRE. I'll cut to the chase. I'm not the one with the checkbook. Um, what our group does specifically under Niwak is we're in the S&T department. So our job is to investigate new capabilities and trying to integrate those into program of records for sustained functionality and capabilities provided to the fleet. All of the warfare centers are mission focused. Ours has to do with advanced information warfare capabilities. Okay, so diving quickly into the project that we currently have ongoing. So this project we're calling the Tactical Integrated Data Environment. So we do have an acronym. Somebody was talking about a cool name. This stands for TIDE, from the Southeast, no affiliation to Alabama, just a cool name. And so for our project, we're delivering two solutions to U.S. Central Command that they were asking for. The first is the capability and flexibility to modularly construct buoys, more than just sensors, but telemetry packages, batteries, and sensors, various payloads, and to be able to kind of compile those based off of warfighter requirements for specific mission parameters. So our solution to that, I'll get into the next following slide. The second piece that they're looking for is an edge to enterprise architecture. So I think it was mentioned several times, what good is this data without it getting back to the end user, leading to decision making? Our contention is that with the modularity and the new sort of systems and the scale of systems that we're employing, and these custom telemetry packages, allowing the incorporation of new radio links. There's going to be a lot more opportunity with this scale to have things not only speak upwards with SATCOM and LTE, but to speak to each other, to speak to the other autonomous systems that we have employed, the Navy has employed to deliver that data back. So I will apologize for being at this brief and having no pictures of Bristlemouth products or SOFAR products. So this project was, really started. Our funding right now is basically a year long or a couple months into executing this project. And we did a pretty extensive market research of what was out there. And our group learned a lot about environmental sensors and SONS. Didn't know that was how, we were deploying sensors. And basically what we came up with was basically a complete compilation of products that we thought we could integrate now if we had to into a platform to deploy. We came across Bristlemouth. We saw it as a great opportunity to cut out a lot of the, for us, the different serial interfaces that we have to provide to enable that modularity. The cost of these platforms, these prototype systems that we're building, can range, from, 15 grand onward. And a substantial cost of that is just the variety of wet make connectors that we have to provide to offer that modularity down the road. So that's where, Bristlemouth is great, because if we have buy-in and an open standard and people are designing to that standard, that increases scalability, that reduces complexity. Suddenly, vendors are going to realize that for their system, it's going to be a requirement in some sorts to be integrated onto a system. And so the second piece, and I mentioned this earlier, is modular telemetry kit. So somebody was talking earlier about, how do we address, how do we take advantage of mesh networking and having these things talk to each other? So this is really a major part of our project. We're not trying to reinvent any solutions that other people are working on, which is why the revelation of BristleMouth is so great, because we're in some ways we're like, okay, sensor stuff is figured out. We're still proceeding with, how we think we have to define this data backhaul, incorporating various COTS radios, tactical radios, 5G solutions, future G solutions as well. And so we're prototyping these systems as they're supposed to be, or as we can create throughout this year. But we do have intentions of continuing this work, hopefully collaborating with the BristleMouth team, collaborating with you all, and then creating a solution that adheres more to the standards that are being defined. So that way, this work scales to a better solution. So this is the second part of our project this year that is funded. So as I mentioned, we are building these prototype systems, and the way that we want to prove this and prove the edge to enterprise data architecture that we're talking about is through, this is what we really are calling the TIDE, the Tactical Integrated Data Environment. Essentially, so NAVIC plant in Charleston, South Carolina, we want to deploy around 30 edge nodes that adhere to our modularity framework and have the ability for us to plug and play sensors. And basically, we're going to deploy these edge nodes for strategic value in Charleston. NAVIC Atlantic has a facility on Sullivan's Island, which is one of the barrier islands here. You can see where we have the different groups, S&T groups at NAVIC, working with autonomous vehicles. So practicing the movement of data through autonomous vehicles as relays, and practicing this real-time data exfiltration with our mesh networks. We have a collaborative research agreement with the South Carolina DNR. For them, they represent a really good end user. They have a variety of projects that they need this data for. And we're really trying to create an ecosystem here with a lot of local stakeholder participation that extends beyond South Carolina DNR. We're talking with National Park Service at Fort Sumter. We're talking with Socorro. We're talking with Charleston Ports and Harbor, U.S. Coast Guard, and the base that they have down there. And really, what we're trying to do is, very inspired by GLOSS, which I had a slide and I breezed past earlier, but very inspired by the idea of people bringing their data into a common ecosystem and providing more data as a result to everybody. Even the local community is just a way to access their data. What the Navy is also going to get out of this is, there is some data where the Navy doesn't want to share that data publicly. So it'll be a really good exercise for us in segmenting, data streams, tactical streams versus non-tactical streams, and that's a pretty important exercise point. So just some what our status is and where we are moving with this project. So currently, late January, February. I'll tell you this, it's probably going to be more like early February, but we have our lab systems right now. And we plan on deploying them, and as you can see in the system up here with our telemetry packages, practicing our data backhaul. The blue dot is our Sullivan's Island facility, NAVIC Sullivan's Island facility, and then two of the purple dots, one is South Carolina DNR's facility, and one is Fort Sumter. We'll be practicing the flow of data across these edge nodes, and then we'll basically be adding more and more edge nodes over time as our material procurements come in. For those of you that don't know, material procurements in the government can be a often very challenging and infuriating process.
2 minutes.
Almost done. So by end of the year, like I said, these are all basically the planned stations that we plan on deploying. We do plan on deploying some spotter nodes. Obviously, they may not adhere to the architecture that we're setting forth, but our hope is that through the growth of this project, we're pursuing some other funding from other sources to encourage the further integration with the efforts to adhere to this standard, and hopefully future goals would be to add some visualization some visualization software, and then those platforms that we do deploy, augment them with BristleMouth. So there's a lot of stuff I've heard from folks today, and I'm definitely excited to collaborate. This is not my number, the PAO.